Okay, so what we're going to do now is look at prepositional phrases. And a prepositional phrase must contain two things. The first is obviously a preposition, and the second thing that it must contain to make it a phrase is an object, which is usually a noun. Okay. The difference between a phrase and a clause is that a clause, if you recall, always has a subject and a verb, whereas a prepositional phrase does not. There's no subject and verb. So in this case, the boy in the room is our prepositional phrase, and in is our preposition, and room would be our object or our noun. So this is only a phrase. There's no subject, there's no verb. It just contains a preposition, a string of words that usually ends with our object or noun. The second thing we have here is a prepositional phrase. Now, what can it actually do? It can do two things. The first thing is it can modify nouns or it can modify verbs. Okay, and a noun phrase, the phrase acts like an adjective. An adjective modifies nouns. It tells the blue sky, the dark coffee, and then it can also modify verbs. And a phrase that acts like an adverb. So we can have prepositional phrases that do two things. The first one is to modify nouns, and the second one is to modify verbs. So adjective prepositional phrases or adverb prepositional phrases. So examples of a prepositional phrase as an adverb would be my friends from Lafayette. So these are incomplete sentences, but as you can see, the green part, from, is our preposition, Lafayette being our object or our noun, in this case a proper noun, it's a city. The road to Iowa City. So this is our prepositional phrase. The chapter inside the book, preposition, object. And my garden with many weeds. Okay? So phrases, what they do is they qualify, they modify, like we said before. These are all describing which garden, okay, which chapter, the road, where's it going, my friends, which ones from Lafayette. So those are adjective prepositional phrases. The next one we're going to look at is adverbs. And this is a little more tricky. Most people don't remember what adverbs do. It's very important to know that an adverb, it tells when, where, why, how often, and to what extent. Okay, so it answers those questions when it's talking and giving more description for the verb that we're talking about. So here's some examples. Oops. Prepositional phrase as an adverb. So it says, he swims in the afternoon. And as you can see, it's answering the question, when. This one says that exercised for their health. So these are prepositions, objects of the preposition. The only difference is what is it describing? It's describing the action of exercising. Okay? And watched with horror. How did they watch? With horror. Preposition, object. Studied for an hour. How long? For an hour. That's our preposition and our object. And the last one, show up. There's our verb, throughout the day. So these are our verbs that we're talking about here. And since these prepositional phrases are clarifying the verbs, we're calling them prepositional phrases that are as adverbs. Okay? Hope this is making sense to you, because it makes perfect sense to me, I have to be honest. Oops, that one sideways. It's, bam. These are what we call simple prepositions, and there's a whole list of them here. We'll maybe just bring this camera in so you can see. There's a whole list of them here, okay? And all of these would be considered simple prepositions. They're one word that sets off the prepositional phrase, okay? So there's a whole list there that you can maybe pause the video and take some notes on what some of these are. But we're going to keep going here. Hopefully my camera doesn't fall. We're going to keep going here talking about what prepositional phrases do. There are also phrasal prepositions. if you look, it's phrase, phrasal preposition, so it's more than one word, okay? Prepositions preceded by an adjective, an adverb, adjective, or a conjunctive. So if you look, we have according to. These are all the prepositions next to it, okay? And these words are all of our adverbs, adjectives, or conjunctions, because this seems like it's a white buzzword. Okay, it is a white buzzword, but when it's followed by of, it turns it into a phrasal preposition. Okay, which means it's giving cause or reason. But for, what's a but for? Well, for sitting, of course. So these would all be considered phrasal prepositions, and you can maybe pause video and take some notes on those as well. I think just a little bit more here. We have continuation of phrasal verbs are 3-word prepositions. Okay, we have a preposition, we have a noun, and then we have another preposition. And these are just some examples of those. We have by means of. So by, if you recall, was a preposition. Means is a noun, and then of is another preposition. So phrasal prepositions, they do the same thing. We would still have a continuation of our prepositional phrase, only we have a string of words, either 2 words or 3 words, that make up the preposition. So this would start off our phrase by means of, and in accordance with, in back of. So preposition here, and a noun in the middle. The same thing on this side. You can take a look at that and take some notes. Jot down any questions that you have. If you don't understand something, we are going to take a look at some of these prepositions and phrasal prepositions when you come into class. So make sure that you have some solid notes to reference, and like I said, write down any questions that you may have. So hopefully this helped, and we'll see how this works for us. All right, see you later.